All right.
Hello, Gun Nation.
Live. Hello, everybody. How's it going tonight? And I'm waiting for a response.
They can't, oh, we're great, but they can't talk back.
I know they can't talk back. I'm looking at you too.
I'm great. How are y'all?
Not too bad. Not too bad. 17, how you doing, buddy? Uh-oh. We
Oh,
got
man,
no
again?
sound. Wah, 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 wah.
Wow.
Nope. No
You
joy.
faking us out?
Well, everybody, I hope everybody's doing all right tonight. Welcome back. Thanksgiving Eve. I hope everybody has big plans and is ready to eat lots and lots of food tomorrow. We'll be with friends, family, whatever it happens to be. And we appreciate each and every one of you guys joining us here tonight prior to the big day, of course. And we've got a couple things that we want to talk about tonight. Nothing terribly deep, nothing terribly heavy, especially the day before Thanksgiving. Oh, I heard a sound.
Yeah, it's me.
Nice. Okay. He's back. But just a couple things to kick things off, and then we will probably just open it up for some good old-fashioned discussion this evening. One thing we've been talking about, and we've been kind of focusing on our channels a little bit lately, and as reviewers, we tend to focus on quite a bit, are triggers. And I know we've spent some time with flat face triggers and other aftermarket triggers, and comparing how those work in compared to factory triggers, that sort of thing. And we've had a host of different views and comments and thoughts and that sort of thing, which we always appreciate about these. But we wanted to kind of talk to you guys a little bit and get some feedback from you on what you think of some of these aftermarket triggers. So 17, I want to kick it off to you first.
Well, I know that there's been a lot of feedback on some of the most recent videos I made. A lot of people really just saying that they're not comfortable carrying guns that have such short take-ups on their trigger. A lot of the language has been about weight and pounds and all this other stuff, but also the idea that the take-up on the trigger for them is a little too short, and being as such, they're uncomfortable carrying that way. You know, I personally, I'm not trying to insult anybody. I just don't understand what is the hang up with that. Yes, it's a light trigger. However, the take up is shorter. Does it make it less safe? I really don't think so, because, unlike a 1911, you have a trigger safety, so you don't necessarily have to worry about that. Secondly, if it's protected in a holster and you can't get access to that trigger, again, I don't see how that gun is going to go off accidentally. Now, some people bring up the idea of, well, let's say you're in a stressful situation. Right, I understand that, but that finger is not going to go there until I'm ready. So if I draw my gun on somebody, that's the position. It's not here. It's going to be there. Mm-hmm. So, for me, I don't see this gun going off unnecessarily. I've also tried to justify it by saying that in a high stressful situation, when your muscles are tensing up and, you're wired because your adrenaline is pumping, you don't want to have a heavy first pull. You don't want to have an uncontrollable first pull, because then you have a possibility of missing your shot. So I figured, for me personally, again, I can only speak for myself, I have no problem carrying any of the guns that I put flat face triggers on.
Nice. Big Johnson?
I have, I really like flat face triggers and trigger kits, period, to lighten a trigger on a lot of pistols. A lot of the competition guns come that way no matter what. And it does actually make a more accurate first shot and follow-up shots. I've had several people in the past say, well, what does it matter what the trigger feels like? It's a self-defense or whatever. Okay, well, I'll look at it this way. If it's a self-defense and say there's someone 10 yards away, 15 yards away, 20 yards away, and I have to do a headshot or I have to do a body shot or something, I don't want like a 12-pound trigger or even an 8-pound trigger. You're going to be a lot more accurate with a lighter trigger. And I agree, keep your damn finger off the trigger. I mean, it's going to be in your holster. You're not going to pull the pistol until you know you have to use it, or you shouldn't. And then, keep your finger on the side of the slide. And then when you have to pull the trigger, you've got a great first pull. I mean, that's what it's pretty much all about, And even going back, people have been carrying 1911s for 100 years. I had 1911s with 2-pound triggers, and I carried them. A lot of people do. I think it's just a mindset, and you have to be comfortable and train with what you carry. I know people that they put the pistol in the holster and they think if they wiggle the wrong way, the gun's going to go off. And I'm like, you haven't touched the trigger. It's not going to go off. You know, it's just being comfortable with what the hell you carry.
Nice, nice. So for me, and I look at it a couple different ways. Just from a selfish standpoint, I like the idea of being able to customize or enhance a trigger to make it a little bit more to my liking. Whether it's adding poundage, taking away poundage, changing the feel of the gun. One example for me is the M&P 2.0C. I love that gun, but the factory trigger, I just didn't care. For me, some people stick with that and they like it, which is great. But it's not for me, partly because it went all the way to the very back of the trigger housing or trigger guard, and I like something that that keeps the trigger a little further out, that decreases the amount of pull range that there is. So, you know, when there are aftermarket options to be able to do that and really hone in, so you can spend more time working on shooting and getting good rounds down range, rather than worrying about, you know, how you're going to fiddle with the trigger and that sort of thing. I think that's great, and I think it's nice that we have so many different options to be able to do that. From a carry standpoint, I don't have a problem with aftermarket triggers in a carry situation, with a caveat a little bit, and I think that is, you know, when you get to a place where, you know, you can sneeze and your gun could go off, something like that, and I think perhaps that's maybe taking it to an extreme when it's 3 pounds, 2.5 pounds, something like that. I'm not a big believer in that. That's totally a personal opinion. Some people are, and that's great. There are 1911s that have those just right out of the box. And people carry those, so it's totally opinion. But I totally agree. Keep your finger off the trigger until it's time to pull it, and you're going to decrease the probability of some sort of accident or negligent discharge or anything like that. 99.999%, which is very good. So it's always an interesting topic, and people have lots of opinions. And anytime you change a gun, you're going to have people that are going to come out and they're going to say, "That's awesome, that looks great, I want one." And they're going to be people that come out and say, "How dare you touch the gun that I purchased that's in my safe that I don't have this trigger on? Mm-hmm. You shouldn't do that. You're messing with something that was already as good as it can get. It's the best gun on the market."
Sure. Right. Yeah, there's some stuff going on out in the chat. You know, Swinger's asking some, you know, questions, and there's comments about aftermarket triggers. And, you know, like I've said before, I'm a member of the Firearms Legal Protection, or client, you know, I mean, I'm on that. And I actually brought that up. We had a big seminar that we went to, and there were 6, and these were specialty firearms lawyers. That's all they specialize in, is shooting and, you know, things like that, defensive shooting. And I asked that, raised my hand and asked that in front of a lot of people, you know, can modified triggers, or have you ever had an issue with modified triggers? And the only time it ever came up is if it was an invalid shoot, if it was, you know, an accidental shoot. That's the only time it ever came up. If you're meaning to shoot someone, and this is exactly the way the attorneys put it, if you're meaning to shoot someone and it's a good shoot, it doesn't matter if it's 12-pound trigger or a 1-pound trigger, you know. So, but in accidental shootings, when people go, "Oh my gosh, I did not mean to shoot that person," that's when it gets into modified guns and everything else. So, you know, that was from 6 attorneys, and I'm not an attorney. Okay. I was just going by what I was told during that. So I don't know if that relieves any questions or whatever, but I don't care. I mean, if I'm carrying a gun and I mean to shoot someone, they're going to be shot. You know, it's just the way it is with me.
Right. 17.
Just was going to say, you know, this whole thing about triggers and stuff. I mean, you know, you take a Steyr, this is the L9, and you put this on a gauge. This thing is pulling like maybe 4 pounds. And does that make this gun unsafe? Does this mean you shouldn't carry it? You know, I just don't agree with that. Like I said, I mean, these guns won't go off.
Uh-oh.
We lost you.
We lose sound again?
Yeah.
It was a good point. We'll get back to you. We'll get back to you when you come back on.
Well, and that's, you know, I'll follow up with something, you know, like on the P07, P09 in single action, they're 3 pounds, 8 ounces, you know, so that's lighter than a Glock or a lot of striker fire triggers, and that's factory out of the box.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, I just think you need to train with what you have and be aware of it.
So while he's still working on his microphone, Harry made a point. He said, good triggers are overrated. Oh, I heard her squeak. Are you back?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, you are.
You're on. Go ahead and finish your thought. Then I've got
Can you actually hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this mic tonight. I don't even remember what I was saying.
Steyr, you're talking about the Steyr trigger?
Just the whole thing about a trigger, I just am not convinced that there's anything to be worried about. I'll give you a good example. I shot the Phantom the other day, and I haven't shot a double single action in a while. And the double action is about 9 and change. And my first shots were off. They were totally off because the trigger pull was a little bit heavier. I was definitely trying to measure when the hammer was going to drop. I just haven't shot one of these in a while. I got a little better as it went on, but at the same time, I'd feel a hell of a lot more comfortable shooting, this thing as a first shot than the Phantom until I, get a little more practice with it, or maybe throw a spring kit in it. But, I don't know. I just don't think there's really anything to worry about. And if you're drawing from your holster like this, my opinion, that's not the way you need to be drawing. You need to draw that holster and get that finger up. It doesn't take much time to go like that, guys. So if you're coming out of holster like this, you're waiting for a problem. I would always draw like that, but again, I'm not a special operator by any means. So,
yeah.
Right. So real quickly, Harry had made a point just a little while ago, and I'm kind of behind on the comments right now. We'll catch up here in a moment. He said, good triggers are overrated. Most people don't have the skills to work a good trigger. A guy who only has 500 rounds through his gun shouldn't be upgrading the trigger if it means not buying ammo. So I look at that a couple of ways. Part of me says, yeah, I think you're right. I mean, more time spent behind the gun in general is good. However, I also think if a trigger can escalate or enhance or speed up that training to make a better quality shot sooner in your training, because obviously you want to continue to practice and put more rounds through it. I'm all for it. I am totally for it. If that escalates the training, I think that's okay. So I'm not sure I 100% agree with it, although I do definitely understand the point. Let's see. Did you guys see any questions in the crowd as I'm scrolling through?
Well, and I don't know what's going on with Do It Right. It says, when are we starting? It was supposed to start at 4.
He's on Alaska time.
Yeah.
We are way late.
Yeah, golly.
Let's see. Okay, so Ranger Andy is saying, just got the M&P Compact 2.0. After 200 rounds, trigger is still not very good. It's a shame, but to make it good, you have to put in an Apex trigger. So, to make it good, you have to. Not necessarily, but I think that goes back a little bit to the point. It might be that one thing. And I will tell you, Randy, for me, and I've got the 2.0 Compact right here. In my initial review, I had the factory trigger on it, and I liked the gun. I liked the feel of the gun. The trigger was my least favorite thing about it. Part of it's because of the style of shooting that I do, wrapping my finger through. I don't use the pad of my finger. But I felt like the trigger went back awkwardly far into the frame and everything. So it made it that much better. It's a better experience now. So, take it for what it's worth. Does it necessarily make the trigger better? It's totally in the eye of the beholder, but it has the potential to make a good gun great.
But also, I have some guns that don't have super great triggers. And if you train with those guns and if you get rounds behind those guns, you can shoot them very effectively. You kind of need to be a jack of all trades. If something were to hit the fan and you just go to pick up a gun, you got to be able to shoot all kinds. Mm-hmm. That's why even on the double action, single action, I recommend new shooters try a double action, single action, because if they're nervous about that first pull, they're going to get the long pull right off the bat. Might be a little longer than they want, or they're not used to, or some people, when they pull back a double action trigger, their hand starts shaking, and then they'll lose the sight. Well, and just because they're not used to it, but, train with it, or carry it cocked and locked, if you're able to with the safety on it, if you want a much better trigger. But striker fire is going to give you constant no matter what. And I know that 17's even said this, and I know some of his people have too, and they've said it on mine, oh my gosh, the PPQ is such a light trigger. I'm scared to carry it. Well, you might need to carry a double action, single action if you feel that way.
I don't know how anybody could be scared to carry that gun. It's whatever.
Well, it's mostly, it could be new shooters, they're not
That's
super
right.
familiar, and that's why I say rather than, being scared of something or afraid to carry a gun, you might need to go train with it, get more familiar with it, learn the trigger. You're going to know the trigger right off the bat. That's why I love riding the reset if it's a great reset, so I don't have to long stroke the gun. But that's just personal opinion. Some people hate, resets. They're like, they're useless. I don't think they are. It's just kind of like an idiot mark to let you know you don't have to long stroke the trigger, but that's just my opinion.
Sure. Harry was bringing up an interesting point, saying that he shoots better with guns with bad triggers than guns with good triggers. It's kind of interesting because I got this Glock 17. This, by the way, this thing was like used, but is like brand new. And I dropped an Overwatch precision trigger in there, and that's all it has, just the trigger. And I will tell you, just the shape of the trigger and just the way the trigger feels in my finger makes me an overall better shot with this gun. I think it's going to be based on preference. If you can go and live with one of these triggers, like an M&P trigger, great, good for you. Don't upgrade your trigger if you're happy with it. But to tell people that you shouldn't do this, I don't agree with that either. I shoot better with this than with the standard Glock trigger, period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's just, it's going to be a personal preference. I would never tell anybody, hey, that's garbage, or don't do that, or don't do this. That's my opinion, and everyone's going to have their own. But that's when people shouldn't come out of the woodwork, the weekend tactical guys, and go, oh, that flat face trigger is garbage, da 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 da. They've probably never shot one, or aren't familiar with it, or they just have one gun and they're used to that trigger.
Well, I was very skeptical of flat face triggers for a long time, that. And now that I have them on several handguns, they're fantastic. I mean, for me personally, the only curved trigger I really like shooting with are CZs. I like my PO1, and I like the Phantom. I don't think I need a flat face for that, but very happy with them. Couldn't complain.
See, that's why I prefer the Omega or like the Shadow, the longer, less curved trigger, probably because of my fingers being so long and things like that. I think it has a lot to play in it, but that's why there's different triggers and different applications that different people can use, to find what they like.
Yeah. I would also challenge people, if you're thinking about different triggers, that sort of thing, if you had the opportunity and ability and availability to put two like guns together, like two Glock 19s or CZs or Smith & Wessons or whatever it happens to be, and a trigger you're thinking about, and then a stock trigger, compare those two, because I think that is the best way, the best analog to be able to judge. I mean, Harry, you were making your point, and you were saying, one gun versus the CZ. I think it was a Glock versus CZ, whatever it is. They're two different guns, and not that they're too dissimilar, but they're a little bit dissimilar, and one being striker and one being, putting two of the exact same thing together and having the only thing different being the trigger might give you a good idea of whether it enhances shooting or not. So lots of stuff on triggers there. We probably ought to move on from
Thanks,
that.
Gerald. Appreciate the compliment.
Get to the next. Just say what?
Gerald just left me a really nice compliment. What a surprise. Apparently he doesn't shoot bad every day like I do.
If you'd been with me at the range tonight, you'd wonder why I still was shooting guns at all. Okay. There was a question here a little while ago. And jump in, guys, if you see anything. Okay. Well, here, Dave Gass was saying, what is the better, longer grip, the Glock 19 Gen 4 or the new Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 Compact?
Well, only you can answer that question, KS.
Well, you're better, longer grip. I mean, they're just about identical.
About the same, yeah.
They're really, from a dimension standpoint, they're very similar. Where they are very different would be more in the ergonomics. Glock being a slightly more canted or more angled. I think it's like 18 degrees or something like that. So it's a different angle. And then the Smith is going to be a little bit more, almost 1911-ish. It's got that rougher texture on it, although not terribly rough. I've carried it, and it's not that bad. But it's just a matter of personal preference when you get to guns that are basically the same size. Here you go. That's my answer on that.
Great answer.
Great answer. Yeah, fantastic. I've got, well, I do want to let some people know about a pistol if they're interested. There is Tanfoglio they're finally starting to come out. Before they were few and far between, but there's a new pistol. It's called the Tanfoglio, and it's the P-Match and P-Match Pro. What the P means is it's polymer. And the P-Match Pro, it's actually kind of built like a stock 3, but it's an all polymer version. It is single action only, but it has about a 3-pound trigger. It comes with 19 rounds, and it's under $600, ready to go out of the box. Then the P-Match itself is double action, single action, does not have a mag well because the Pro comes with a factory mag well. And they're making them in 10 millimeter, 45, 9 millimeter, 40. So they're kind of, they're really trying to push this thing. I've never personally shot one, but I've seen them and been kind of interested in them. But, it's basically a stock 3 in a polymer version. If anybody's looking for a nice but inexpensive, competition gun, that might be a route they might want to go.
Nice. Cool. Hey, 17, this, you might be able to deal with this. Paul was saying shot his new Steyr S9 today, 150 flawless rounds, which is awesome. Unfortunately, 20 or 30 of those casings hit him in the head. Not a deal breaker considering the recoil impulse is softer than many full-size guns. So what do you think of that? What's your experience on that?
I hear that a lot from people, that they're getting those wicked ejections back to their face. I know the M9 that I have, that has about 1,100 rounds through it around there. And I've taken maybe 5 or 6 to the head. The L9 was beautiful. A couple hundred rounds through this, no issues, no rounds to the face or no casings to the face. You could just give it some time, see what happens, put a couple more hundred, eventually things will start kind of wearing in and hopefully you won't have those problems. I know if you do have problems, just, give Steyr a call. Maybe they can send you a new ejector or something. They're not, the gun isn't difficult to take down in any way, shape or form. The whole thing is pretty much modular. You can pull out the entire trigger assembly. But I wouldn't worry about it so much as long as it eats up the ammo, and as long as it's ejecting it far enough into your head, as opposed to just barely touching your nose. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's see.
J. Mike had a question. Have any of you guys put Cajun Gun Works Pro package in your CZs? He said he loves his in his PO1. I did see that Lock and Load Lifestyle Nolan was actually looking at a package for his PO1 today and thinking hard about that. You guys, what kind of experience do you have with Cajun Gun Works?
I have not put any in mine as of yet. They have the smaller kits and the full kits. I know Pop's put one in his PO9, but I have not yet. I mean, I'm really enjoying mine. The only one I'm probably going to put one in is my PO1 and probably my SPO1 tactical. I'll probably do those first because I do want the hook trigger out. I'm going to go with the 85 combat trigger.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I haven't done any work. I'm going to be putting a, like a $22 spring kit in the Phantom just to see how much it reduces the double action, because honestly, the single action on this is excellent. It's about 5 pounds. It's an excellent, smooth single action trigger. I just like to, cut down the double action a little bit. So I'll try that first. And, for $22, you can't go wrong. So that's about where I'm going to go. I'm not spending, $200-300 to put springs and triggers and all this other shit in these guns. Just not doing that. Not saying that anybody shouldn't do it. I just am not.
Yeah. Hey,
Bald has a question, but he wants to know if he has to pay us.
Yes, you have to pay us. Okay, what's the question?
I don't know. Then he commented saying Pop's PO9 is sick.
Okay. Well, we'll wait for his question. No, Baldy, your first question is free. Trash Man had a question, and this is for everybody. What are your thoughts on buying used versus new? That's a fantastic question. I don't think we've really ever gotten into that.
You want to go first? You want me to?
Go, KS.
Me, I don't have a problem with either one. So long as I can see either gun, whether it's new or used, and be able to handle it, I'm totally good with that. I'm not much of an online buyer, and I know most people are, and I'm probably an idiot for not doing it, but I really like to be able to handle the gun. I also like to be able to walk away with it that day. That's kind of important to me, and I like giving business to my local gun shop, Centerfire. So that's kind of important to me too. But I don't have a problem with used guns. My newest acquisition, although not actually used, it was factory blemished. And you can't really tell at all, but I got a hell of a deal on it. It was a screaming deal. And I look at that basically like a used gun. It's the same thing. A lot of used guns, a lot of them, people buy them and they realize they either can't afford it or they don't want it. Yeah. So they either have never shot it, or maybe they've put a couple boxes through it and they've maybe cleaned it, maybe not cleaned it. But it really is neat. To me, if somebody tells you, hey, that gun has 100 rounds through it, it's used, it's worn in. No, it's not. 100 rounds through a gun to me is still a new gun. That's hardly worn in. So new or used doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, I've bought plenty of used guns, but the kicker is when I'm there, I haven't bought any used ones online, so to say. But I've actually bought them from individuals, and then of course at gun shows and guns shops and stuff like that. But I will only do it if I can pull the gun completely apart, like a basic takedown, and I'll look at everything, pull the barrel out, look at the lands, the feed ramp, that kind of stuff. And then I'll dry fire it, many times and just kind of get a feel for it. And by checking it that way, I've never bought a bad gun, never. So.
I don't care if I buy used or new. I mean, I bought a couple of used guns. This Glock 17 I bought used on the internet. I got it for $400. Came with night sights. Probably assuming it was probably a police trade-in. The only wear on it were actually on the steel Glock night sights. They actually came with night sights that glow pretty well still. I pulled it apart when I got it. It was just dirty. Cleaned it up real nice. No issues with it. It shoots really nice. The polymer's in good shape. Metal's in good shape. So I've never had a problem buying used. If you go to a gun store, take the gun down a little bit, do your field strip, look inside, and in worst case scenario is you buy a recoil spring. Maybe depending on what kind of gun it is, you can buy some other parts that are cheap and basically refurb it into a brand new gun. So I see nothing wrong with it. Obviously buyer beware. If you buy a used gun, you may be buying somebody's piece of crap that they wanted to get rid of. Like Baldy bought mine.
He said he buys all yours.
Yeah. But I don't see any reason not to buy a used handgun, because like KS said, sometimes people buy the gun, they put a couple, maybe 100 rounds through it, and they're like, this gun's just not for me. And next thing you know, you got a brand new gun. And I've seen countless guns like that in the used section of a gun store. And I'm always amazed. Like, you pull them apart. I have a Glock 43 on layaway right now, and it was used, and that thing had no wear on the barrel, nothing. It came with night sights, 4 mags, and I got that for, I think, $3 something. So, I mean, you can't beat that. Why not go with that?
Yeah. Well, as you guys know, I've ran into some crazy deals on used guns. You just got to shop them and just look around for them, and you'll bump into some nice deals. And yeah, I've picked them up where it still had the packing grease, from the manufacturer inside of it. And it's like, holy crap, they never even shot the gun. So you can find all kinds of great things if you look around.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And occasionally you just stumble upon something. It's all happenstance. You're just at the right place at the right time, and you have cash in your pocket, or you don't, whatever. It's always hit or miss.
Yeah. Like TR, he prefers a broken woman. He doesn't want to have to train her.
So now apparently Baldy's on the idea that I don't shoot my guns. Sorry, I don't drag them behind a truck and then throw them in dirt like you do, Baldy. I take care of my shit.
Yeah.
So KS and TR is saying, KS, I'm going to mess with you guys. Bring it, my friend, bring it. But where did Pops go? Pops said he knows somebody who got a Hudson, and then I asked him about it, and then he left.
It's probably Pops, man. He's probably shooting and uploading a video right now.
It probably is Pops. Pops, I will throat punch you later if you got a Hudson. I swear I will.
He was saying somebody got a Hudson, but he kept saying that, so I don't know.
Oh, speaking of guns, Strike B, the Arsenal Strike B, there's a little bit of controversy brewing with this thing. What a surprise. So Reign 6 brought up, made this announcement saying that they called or spoke to the owners and all this other nonsense, saying that a lot of the rumors that were out there swirling around that the company was going bankrupt and all this other nonsense was not true, and that they will be making an announcement soon. That has not happened with Arsenal. And also they were saying that a lot of people were asking for their money back, you know. And then I read an article about how I don't know who they are, I forget who they were, but they were saying they were going to be doing a lengthy test. They put money down, but they are so disgusted with the way Arsenal has been handling things that they've pulled their money back. So it's kind of interesting to see what's going to happen with this. You know, I know they were talking about October arrivals, November dispersal, and we still haven't seen that. There have been no idea of when this gun is going to be released. And everybody's, you know, Arsenal right now has a private Instagram page. They went everything private. Their Facebook page went black, which was kind of odd. So who knows what's happening with that? I know that they've got all my money, so I paid it off. So I don't know if it's not here, maybe by, I don't know, mid-December, I'll probably ask for a refund.
Wow.
Gotcha. Hey, real quickly, Frank Hessman was saying just today, local arms list deal traded one of his shields and 3 Benjamins that's actually 3 people named Benjamin, for a DE 1911G. I'm not familiar with that. It's a DE, is that a Desert Eagle? Maybe, I don't know, but in immaculate condition, no issues with buying used here, which is great. That's awesome. And you know, Frank, I found, and I've bought and sold guns, mostly sold guns over arms list for a lot of years now. And I think maybe in that time, only one person kind of weirded me out a little bit. He had a Kansas concealed carry license and the whole thing. He was just kind of a goofy guy and had a couple of goofy people in the car with him. With that part makes me a little bit nervous. I'd rather it just be me and the other person. But aside from that, I've always had good deals, and I have had repeat business because of that. I've sold multiple guns to the same person, and generally people kind of want to talk about the guns and are pretty down to earth. So you can usually screen people a little bit when you're emailing back and forth, and that can help weed out some of the weirdos. I've talked to a couple people who couldn't construct a whole sentence, and I will not sell to someone like that. I think, you know, you gotta show me that that you're a normal person, or at least in my eyes, before I'll sell a gun to you.
Yeah. We have a question. It's been brought up a couple of times. Thoughts on the FK 7.5 Bruno?
I don't have thoughts on it. I've never seen it, never touched it. I've seen videos on it, like Honest Outlaw. I don't have any thoughts otherwise.
I've seen videos on it, and I think it's awesome looking. But you know, I wouldn't pay, you know, $6,000 for that pistol. It's just not a, you know. Plus, you can't find ammo for it. But it's just not a normal pistol that I would want to carry and use. You know, that's just my personal opinion.
Kind of a niche type of thing, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a beast, but very awesome looking. But
yeah,
I wouldn't have one probably.
Hey, real quickly, we don't do this enough on our chats, I don't think, but we've talked about doing this more. Guys, there are a lot of people out here with great channels. So please go and check everybody's channels and support each other, subscribe to each other, all that kind of good stuff. And that's, you know, how we continue to get to know each other a little bit better and keep that good content going. So appreciate that. And a lot of really neat people out there. Spec Op, just saw him. He poked his head in for a moment. I'm not sure if he's still here, but good to see you. But again, yeah, wander around and scope out everybody's good channels.
Yeah, and just tap the icon, go to channel, and you can subscribe right there.
Yep.
Tap their icon. So really simple on the chats.
And Jesus has got us saying Wicked and Mateo need a channel. I agree.
Yep, they do. They do. Let's see here. Yeah, and Mateo's saying, you know, he's impressed by the 7.5 Bruno cartridge, but not the gun. Looks like an overly, you know, complicated CZ Tanfoglio. Yeah. You know, that's kind of what I thought. I saw a lot of Tanfoglio in it, you know, when I saw the video. Let's see. And, you know, a question for y'all. And you know, it was, or I don't, you know, I guess I know that 17 doesn't have one, but, you know, I took an AR to the farm, and, shot it, and that's the first time I've shot one of my ARs in over a year. And I tell you what, it was a lot of fun. It was like, damn, why don't I shoot these more often? And it kind of goes back to having, a large area to shoot in. 25 yards in an indoor range is not where you want to be shooting an AR. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to, get the AR back out and shoot it. So definitely enjoyed it.
Nice. That's cool.
So. And also, everybody is saying Happy Thanksgiving, so we definitely need to tell everyone out there Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving
to y'all and your family.
That's right.
We're gonna have to put our big boy britches on tomorrow so we can eat a lot.
Yes, that is.
You're eating pants.
That's right.
Wear sweatpants.
Elastic sweatpants.
Yeah.
It's up the range 1.
Yeah, and then of course Wicked has to pipe in. He said if he goes a month without shooting his rifles, he has withdrawals. So, yeah, but I've been a pistol guy forever, and I enjoy rifles and shotguns and everything else. It's, definitely everybody has their preference.
Yeah. NC Civil War was saying likes the Instagram post showing what's next on the channel. Thanks, man. So just started Instagram, and I have joined 1776 in the VidMe world. I'm pretty on the fence on that. I think that's more a backup channel than anything else. It's tough to manage 2 channels the same way and all that kind of stuff. But exploring some different options out there. So be sure to check out everybody's social media, all that kind of stuff. The Instagram is pretty cool. I like that, and it's pretty low maintenance, which is nice. You just pop out pictures, that sort of thing. It's not a lot else going on there, so it's kind of cool.
Kevin is asking, does anybody have a Sphinx? And I have a Sphinx. I have the SDP Compact. So I don't know if he has a particular question on it, but if he does, he can let it loose. And I have not joined VidMe yet. I'm going to, but I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah. That Sphinx is awesome, man. I like that gun.
Yeah, you've shot it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mateo's got the 3000. He's got the really, really nice one. And yeah, I have not shot one of those. I would love to. Yeah, the Sphinx is a great shooting pistol. It's, oh, and I know that Bald and Curious has one too. It's comparable to the P07. It's kind of like a refined, like really nicely machined. But when you start talking about the money, is it hugely worth the price that it is? Honestly, I mean, and I own both. I would say for the money, probably get the P07. And I mean, that's just an opinion. But I do like the Sphinx, but I don't know if it's worth $1,000.
Yeah. 17, what's going on, man?
Nothing. I'm just dry firing guns, having fun.
What are you dry firing?
Everything on my table.
Perfect. Perfect. What's your favorite so far?
It's hard to say. I'm really beginning to really like this what is it, HB Industries, HD Industries? I can't remember. I really like the trigger, man. It just is really nice. I like it. It's a lot better, in my opinion. Just the way the trigger feels in the finger. It's an improvement, big improvement, in my opinion.
Nice.
Yeah, and we have Aaron actually joined the CZ Life. I don't know which one he got.
Who was this again?
Aaron Newmeyer.
Aaron Newmeyer.
Right on.
Yep.
Right on.
Yep. But I guess we'll find out which one if you post it.
32 Icon is asking, do we have any warm-up drills when going to the range?
Setting up the camera. That's the warm-up drill. No, I just start shooting. And generally speaking, it takes a little while for me to kind of dial in and kind of get used to what I'm doing and get mentally focused and everything. And the quality of shot tends to increase a little bit, though, for me, not very much. But I don't have any specific, I don't have warm-up drills per se. You guys?
No, I mean, sometimes I'll go and, shoot 7 to 10 yards, and then I'll stretch it back. You know, it just depends. You know, and I don't start with full capacity mags. Sometimes I'll just do like 5, move back or whatever, move it back, and then 5. You know, it just depends. And it depends on that day. If, you know, I know it's probably not a good idea to do this, but I do it sometimes. But sometimes I'll take striker fire and double action, single action with me. So sometimes I'll start with the double action, single action first, and then go to the striker fire. Because if you start with striker fire and you get, you know, start shooting a lot of them and then go to your double action, single action, sometimes you don't shoot them worth the shit. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I tend to just bring the target in. I noticed that Paul is saying 3 yards. I really start very close just to see where I'm aiming, where I'm holding, and then I progressively move it further out. And I only do like maybe 10 rounds and then move it out, just to kind of, you know, get the blood flowing again, feel the trigger, that kind of stuff. But yeah, basic stuff.
17, you have a question. Which spring did you use with your HBI trigger, and what weight are you pulling?
I gotta look at the thing here. I used a 3.5 pound spring. So I have the stock in here and the 3 pound spring. What am I pulling at? I'd have to measure it. I don't remember. Let me see. Well, that would help if I actually pulled the damn trigger. I'm pulling at 3 pounds, 13.6 ounces. That's the first trigger pull. So not bad.
No, that's not bad at all. So you did actually have a follow-up question to that from NC Civil War. Have you changed out any triggers in your Steyr yet? Tell that story.
Nothing available.
Yeah.
If there was, look, I actually spoke to the people at Apex, and I sort of, you know, shamelessly begged them to create a flat face trigger for the Steyr. And the first thing they said was, "What's a Steyr?" And then the second thing was, "There's no way in hell." They were concerned that there just isn't big enough demand for them to create that trigger. So at this point, it's not on the table. You know, do you really need a trigger? You know, maybe. But I think that if you put a flat face trigger on this gun, I think that might be the one that makes me nervous, because this thing pulls below 4 pounds, and you know, sometimes, and most times around 4, hovers around 4. But a flat face trigger would make this thing probably scream in regards to how awesome it would be. But I don't know if you really need one, because if you've ever looked at the Steyr trigger, it's not exactly curved. As a matter of fact, the gun is clear. Let me drop my mag so nobody freaks out. But the Steyr trigger isn't really curved. It's really primarily flat, and it's fat. So technically, it's, I guess, a fatty trigger. Flat trigger, whatever the hell you want to call it.
You could duct tape a piece of popsicle stick on there and you'd have a flat face trigger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look really good too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Mateo is saying he'd like to have a more audible reset. Yeah, I would too. I think that would be nice to have on the gun. I'd like to have them come out with some sort of trapezoidal night sight, or maybe a fiber optic. I actually thought about drilling a hole in the front sight and then sticking a fiber optic rod in there.
Couldn't get any light though.
What's that?
It wouldn't be able to get any light. It has to have light.
I would Dremel the top. I'd Dremel up a gap in the top, and then you get your light exposure. You know, I thought about doing it, and I actually tested it out on an old front sight, and it didn't go so well. So that's out. I'd have to have a professional do it.
Yeah. I was gonna say, that's a small piece to start tapping in.
Yeah.
The other thing, spin around, cut your finger off.
I would echo that as far as the reset on the Steyr M9A1 for me. And Mateo is saying it's not a need, but most people want it. I would agree with that. But you know, when you get that thing going, you don't really notice whether it's got a reset or not. It just goes.
Yeah, I could care less about reset unless I'm trying to bullseye something. You know, I know it's important for some. It's just not for me. I don't really care, to be honest with you, because if I'm shooting you, I don't give a shit about reset. I've said that a million times.
Yeah, and Do It Right is saying, if you are more than a target shooter, a tactile reset is useless. Never heard or felt a reset in a firefight.
I don't 100% agree with that. Now, from a firefight standpoint, I can't say. I have zero experience with that, and I think when you're in a fight or flight situation, I mean, you're just you're just going.
Slapping the trigger and you're going.
You're just going. That's exactly right. So in that sense, yeah, I totally agree with that. But in a lot of other non-life-threatening shooting situations, I think a quality tactile reset can be a great training aid, and it can give people a reference point in their training. It doesn't mean that they should ride the reset necessarily, but it's just a good reference point to be able to know where the trigger has actually reset itself and you're ready to fire again, rather than some guns like the car, some of those guns that go all the way back out to the very front of the trigger. So I don't know that I completely agree with that.
Yeah, right. I mean, I love a good reset. I mean, that's me personally, and I've been shooting forever, and I know he has too. But that's why there's 31 flavors. Everybody has their opinion and has what they like, and that's why I'm glad that a lot of pistols offer very nice resets. I mean, hell, I can go to any competition that I've been at, and you can hear click, click, click. There's not one shooter in that circuit that doesn't use a reset. There's just not one that I've ever seen. So, but,
the only other thing about the whole reset thing is, like with the Steyr, the Steyr is a double action, and so there really is not a shorter reset. The first shot you shoot on the Steyr, when the gun goes back into battery and the trigger comes back out, it's not resetting a shorter reset. It's going back to its original position. So I don't think you need a reset on this gun. I have never once misfired the Steyr without that reset. It's never bothered me. It's just, I don't know, man. There's something awesome about this trigger. I don't know what the hell it is, but it is a clean, smooth trigger, period. That's it.
Well, and back to that question with the Steyr, someone had got one and they were having brass to the face. I just shot mine at the farm the very first time, a couple of weeks ago, and went to the farm, and I shot it, everybody else shot it, and I didn't get one piece of brass to the face. And I think we put about 250 rounds through it, but I put 3 mags through it myself, and 2 of them with suppressors, and I didn't get, or actually, no, I shot 4 mags, and I didn't get one piece of brass to the face. I mean, they were all ejecting, really nicely out to the side. And I watched other people shoot it, and they didn't get any brass to the face either. So I don't know. Maybe it's just particular ones, or maybe it's ammo related. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. It could also, maybe wrist position. I don't know. Who the hell knows? I'd say just keep shooting it, and then if it happens, contact Steyr and see what they can do.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Did we miss anything?
Well, I'm kind of scanning.
Well, like Bald and Curious, he's a competitive shooter, and he says, I cannot stand a gun with a long reset. That's why he had to mess with his Q100. He was adjusting it to get a better reset on it. So,
yeah.
And Nolan likes to have a, nice reset. So, I mean, I think it's just to, each his own. I mean, Jesus is God likes it too. I just think if it's there, use it. If you choose to. If you want to sit there and long stroke it every time and it has a nice reset, then do it. Whatever the hell you feel comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, competition's a good example. I mean, when I used to compete, I competed with a Glock 34, and it had a Vogel trigger on it. It was an adjustable trigger. That reset was super tight, and that was probably about a 3.5 pound trigger to begin with, and it just was superb. It was a fantastic trigger. In fact, I really wish I still had that trigger. I actually ended up selling that gun, as we often do. That's sort of a regret, but yeah, I like a good quality trigger, good reset. Good trigger pull. I just do.
Yep. Phil just said that Bald uploaded a video on the H9.
Oh, really, Bob? Seriously?
That's what Philip Parker's saying. So I don't know. And maybe I haven't got the thing on it yet, but wondered if he got one.
He certainly did.
Well, if you have, good on
I'm looking right at it. It says teaser video, Bald and Curious, 4 minutes ago.
Holy crap.
Well played, Bald.
And he's got a commercial, so he's monetized, unlike all of mine.
They don't like me too much. They don't monetize my shit.
I did a video of brushing my teeth, and that was demonetized automatically.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is it Bald's, or is he just shooting it?
Yeah, that's his video right there with his porn music.
Right.
I know, but is he just seeing one, or I wonder if it's his?
Oh, he's saying you have to watch the video, so I'm very curious about this. Bald,
I was gonna say I got to put my hands on it, but it wasn't mine.
Yeah, if you got one, kudos to you, man.
Baldy, was this at the store I met you at? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh, y'all have been
you
meeting.
can tell.
Y'all have been
Yeah,
meeting.
look at that.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
Man, I might have to get one of these.
I mean, they look.
Nice.
You know, like I said, the one that I,
Very
finger banged. It was a nice pistol, but I never got to shoot it.
Hey, we do have a question out there from J Mike. He's been getting weak ejection patterns with his new P09 using Winchester white box only. Have a few hundred rounds through it. Any suggestions?
Don't use white box.
Yeah,
Nolan's mindset. Watch his video. He just went through the same exact thing on his SP01.
that wasn't ejection issues, wasn't that? Was a double feed.
Right, but what I'm saying is it does have very weak ejection. I mean, I've shot it. I remember I was shooting it through that VP9 also getting crappy ejection. I mean, I would just try a different ammo. If you've only used white box, I would try a different ammo and then go from there.
Yeah, that's
Nodak is saying send him your crappy ammo. Actually, send it to me. I don't care. I'll shoot it.
Oh, somebody. Okay. Yeah, they said that Bald had some porn music. He said that's Jesus is God said porn music. That's real classy.
That is classy. It's the best kind of music.
Yeah, white box is known as white trash.
I don't know. I've never had issues with white box ever.
I
agree. Get a gun that shoots it.
It'll shoot. I was gonna say it shoots it. It's just you're also dealing with a precision barrel versus a barrel with play. But you can shoot a CZ that has a lot of wear on it, and it will shoot anything. It's usually a newer gun that some of them don't like the white box.
Well, the white box specs. Their specs are a lot more loose than other ammo, from what I understand. Their tolerances are not tight at all, so you definitely can run into issues with white box. However, when I hear ejection issues, that a lot of times I don't blame the ammo for that so much. I would also take a look at the ejector and make sure that there's nothing wrong with that. No burrs since it's a new gun or anything. Just for the argument. Knuckles is saying Mac had a good video on the Hudson H9. I agree, that was a really good one.
Yeah.
Makes me want one that much more.
Fu Master Chew saying who are those three handsome bastards on my screen?
What TV show are you watching? It's not us.
I was gonna say, what video is he watching?
Me, myself, and I. Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
Wow.
So I got some big plans. Got some big plans for Turkey Day.
Hang out with family.
Got to do the rounds with family. Yay.
Yeah. Right.
Eat, drink, and sleep.
Pretty much. Couple of pounds of, what is that, tryptophan, and I'm out.
There you go. Music Lover just got him a CZ P09. Congrats, Music Lover.
Nice. That's awesome.
P09. I liked it. I like the Phantom better.
Yeah. See, I'm totally the opposite. I even put my hands on a Phantom again the other day. I told you that, and it just, and I like. Of course, it has great ergonomics, but it just, the trigger and the slide being so short. It's short like the P09, or excuse me, the P01. And it's just for my fingers, it's hard to grab, which I can, but I prefer the P09 and the P07 slide personally.
Yeah.
I
know you can overhand, you can do all that. It's just.
I like the ergos. Much better on the Phantom.
Yeah. No, it has nice ergos.
I am totally on the fence. I haven't decided yet. That's going to make a good if I could only have one, I think.
Yeah. I figured you would be on the fence.
Yeah,
I really did.
32 Icon is asking, do you guys have any experience with aftermarket slides for Glock 19? And actually, I'll just open that up to Glock in general. Either one of you two?
No.
Yeah, I've never done any barrels or slide work. Although, if anybody knows anybody who wants to do one for me, let me know.
No,
I'm always game for free stuff.
Yeah, right. So yes, a little bit. I've had Zev slide and a Lone Wolf slide, and both worked very well. anymore with Glocks, generally speaking, especially Glock 19s. Most manufacturers have really dialed in and perfected their tooling for those guns. So your tolerances are going to be about the same or a little bit better than with the standard Glock slide. Just find the company that you like. I mean, a reputable company. There are a lot of them out there. Some a lot more expensive than others. But just find what you like and go with it. It's hard to go wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I've used aftermarket. The 22 cadet kit. For the PO9, and you can put it, or they make one for the PO7 too, and I really enjoy that. But of course, that's a 22 conversion kit, and they make it for the SPO1 and the steel guns too.
Right.
So,
yeah, Mateo looks like he's going to be ditching his PO9 for the Phantom. That's why I did it. I mean, it's just, for me, it's just a better ergonomic gun, and it's so friggin' light. I have my old PO9 holster from Mid-Atlantic Holsters, and I know Big Johnson showed us his video of that holster today from them. I actually was talking to him the other day, which was funny that you did that, because I'm seeing if he can get me something a little bit, different Kydex pattern for this, so he can make it. But I was carrying this thing at home the other day. Dude, this is like carrying a friggin' Glock, just a really big one. It weighs nothing. It's super comfortable. And you know what? It disappears. It's not that long of a grip. I mean, it's just not that long of a grip.
Yeah. Well, I carry my PO9 all the time, and I love it.
Yeah.
PO9 doesn't bother me at all. And I don't know what the weight difference between that one and the PO9 is personally. I've never looked them up the specs.
Well, this is I think this is either 24 or 26 ounces. So I don't know what the PO9 is.
I don't know I
think it's about 32, maybe 32 ounces.
Maybe, but I mean, I like it. And of course I know you can carry large mags in that, but with my PO9, I carry the 21+1.
Right.
And it doesn't bother me at all.
Well, it's 56 there, pal.
I know. I was just reading. I carry my revolver in single action. Was saying Moonbase Alpha, and I follow him. Bought a lightweight 44 revolver and was shocked that it had bad recoil. That caught my attention. 44 Magnum having some recoil is pretty shocking.
Yeah.
Well,
that's yeah. Whatever.
I like that.
Well, I did shoot Pops's Desert Eagle 50 AE at the farm. That thing's got a little punch to it. I mean, it's definitely a thumper. I mean, it doesn't hurt, but it definitely has some pop.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, it's Mule Kicker saying you guys compete with the Military Arms Channel now. He started a chat at the same night, same time. Obviously, ours is better. I mean, come on, who is that Military Arms Channel guy, anyways?
Yeah.
It's at the same time as ours?
Yeah, I guess I didn't know he was doing chats. Maybe it's he's never really been into that, so I don't know. Maybe it's a one.
Maybe we should invite him to ours. Show him how it's done.
Well, he was doing it with 22 Plinkster last week, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they did a chat together, so I don't know if that's an all the time thing or what.
He doesn't have the wit and charm that we have. See,
exactly.
So
he's got a lot of personality.
A lot of personality. And speaking of wit, charm, and personality, it is getting to be about that time, guys. So you guys want to say your whatevers?
Go ahead, 17.
Just got a lot of things coming down the pipe. Just a matter of time when I can actually do them all. Still got a couple of gun reviews to do. Shot a few of them already. Haven't shot a couple of them. Some holster reviews, some other stuff, basic stuff. But finally, I have some things to do. I think my next review is going to be on the Phantom. Have some range footage. Didn't go exactly the way I wanted to, but it's okay. It was the first time, like I said, shooting a double single. But this gun is friggin' awesome. Very little recoil. Fantastic. Can't say enough about how awesome the CZ Phantom is. So if you're looking for a full-size CZ and you don't want to carry all that steel weight, get this one right here because it's absolutely fantastic. Oh, and happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Nice.
Got to squeeze that in. Yeah, I've actually caught up on some videos today, getting them filmed of stuff I've had piled up, and changed the front fiber optic sight in the Shadow 2, put a different color in it. So, kind of been piddling around with that. I've got some stuff already filmed, so it'll be out, this week and weekend and stuff like that. And, I appreciate all of y'all jumping on and and sharing your time with us, especially on Thanksgiving Eve. And I hope you and your family have a great Thanksgiving, and definitely be safe out there and always carry on.
Nice. So I've got a couple of things on the way. 17 inspired me a little bit. And I've kind of been eyeing one of these for about 3 or 4 months now. I actually picked up a Phantom as well, and I'm very excited to spend some time with that. I shot that tonight, although not very well. So I want to go back and redo that a little bit and get a better experience with that. I made the mistake that Big Johnson was talking about earlier. I shot 2 striker fired guns and then that gun. It wasn't a good mix. So anyway, so that's coming up. But I've got a special video coming up this weekend. I'm actually turning 1 year old here at the end of the month. And so I've got a year in review coming up. It's a little early for that, I realize, but I'm going based off of the channel year. So just kind of a recap of what's all, some of my favorite guns are from the year. So I'm looking forward to that. It's ready to go. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But once again, you guys, every one of you, we truly appreciate all of you guys spending your hard-earned time with us and sacrificing not being on the Mac channel for us. That's really cool. Yeah. And we very much appreciate it. Again, be sure to check everybody's channels out in the chat. Lots of good stuff going on out there. We love your thoughts and opinions and everything. So we appreciate that. Yeah, man, be safe. Have a fantastic Thanksgiving. And we will catch you next week. Thanks, guys.
And PO1 for the gun check. They're asking about the gun check.
Jesus, make sure you plug us on Mac's chat. I know you'll love doing that stuff.
There you go.
Yeah, right.
Thanks, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving.
Good Thanksgiving, guys.
All right, thanks. See ya.